galaxy that this negative or demonic force is coming from?
Yes, it's the second. It's the second. When you say powers, it's the third choir of the angels of space. It's the spirit of the form. It inherits the spheres of the sun. It's provided with the universe with its physical form and power. It represents the expression of the intellect, mathematics, and geometry. It also is the guardian of the heavenly pathways. It crosses a flaming sword which they protect humans and they defeat the devil. It imposes the will of God without the fear of mercy. And then you find that Raphael and Camiel and Vermeil, they are the sources of these various descriptions and names. This is a science. The power is already here. If you remember the story as it goes, the fallen angels were cast out down to this earth. They were cast out down to this earth. Revelation 12 tells the story of that. And the devil himself told Jesus, all power will I give unto you if you will fall down and worship me. Because the forces of darkness control and rule this world. The world will never be set free until the Messiah comes. This is a demonic place that we are in.
Now, where is astrology? Where is the place for this zodiac in our world?
One of the dark holes in outer space is one of the spots where this power rules from. It rules from a dark hole in outer space. And this is astrologically, this is one of the things that I wish there was more investigation into.
In what direction would one begin their search as far as this dark place?
Is that in the north?
Okay, now is that
the northern gate?
Now is that the same as we call the secret place of the Most High? Or is this another?
No, the secret place of the Most High is a different place. It is a place that is reserved for you and God. You and God alone. And you can go into the secret place of the Most High. This is why you become a decent man, a decent woman. This is why you dedicate most of your prayer life, most of your meditation life. This is when you do deep spiritual work. You go within yourself. And when you go within yourself, God guides you into the secret place of the Most High. This place that is shared by you and Him because you are doing the work that He's doing. You go into Christ's mind and Christ's consciousness. And it's not talking about a person. It's found in all the religions in the world. It's found in all the good men and founders and prophets in the world. When you go into the secret place of the Most High.
Thank you for that clarification. With that understanding, this dark area that's reserved for negativity, would that correlate with the scripture in the Bible? I think it's the New Testament, Ephesians 6:12 to be exact, where it says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Is this the place or the abode in our particular galaxy that this negative or demonic force is coming from?
Yes, it's the second. It's the second. When you say powers, it's the third choir of the angels of space. It's the spirit of the form. It inherits the spheres of the sun. It's provided with the universe with its physical form and power. It represents the expression of the intellect, mathematics, and geometry. It also is the guardian of the heavenly pathways. It crosses a flaming sword which they protect humans and they defeat the devil. It imposes the will of God without the fear of mercy. And then you find that Raphael and Camiel and Vermeil, they are the sources of these various descriptions and names. This is a science. It's talking about altars. Solomon's temple. Solomon's temple itself was about an altar. It was about the Ark of the Covenant. It's about sacredness and sacred places. One of the things that's going on in the Middle East today, when it comes to the Wailing Wall, is the reestablishment of Solomon's temple on the Dome of the Rock's prophecy. It's really something, but the
sabotage?
If you get a diagram of where the spotter pots were lined up in the District of Columbia, and my brother, who's a very gifted astrologer, would look and see the date that was picked. In other words, how the solar bodies were lined up that particular day with these spotter pots, then you can see why it was a big should-do for one day, and the next day you couldn't even find mention of it on TV.
So now you're opening up my mind to understand a little bit more that while most of us are, going to Bible study and maybe go to the masjid or the temple or church, there's another force of people in different agencies, for the sake of the radio, that are practicing sciences to sabotage our community.
Yes, and to sabotage our nation. One of the great things that I admired about Ronald Reagan was that Nancy consulted an astrologer. And that's one of the reasons why Reagan could not be beat. All the Democrats threw at him. He could not be beat. He circled Moscow for 12 minutes before he allowed his plane to land. That's why the Kremlin, he won with the Kremlin. Astrologically, you can't be beat when you align yourself with the forces of God.
So what you're saying is that there's a particular time for individuals to move with the forces of nature and the time to stop?
To everything there's a season, a time and place for everything under the sun. Men and women make love at the wrong time.
That could be a reason why they may break up or arguments happen?
It's the way confusion comes in the family. Children are conceived at the wrong time. Remember, biblically, it was not a relaxation. It was not something you just did for relaxation of enjoyment. You did it to conceive.
I know that ancestral spirits are, as of late, have been pretty important to me in reestablishing that link. If I had a photograph of my grandmother and she had a favorite alcoholic beverage, like Hennessy may have been her drink, is there anything I can do with that to maybe get her to assist me in the spirit plane, and so I can see it manifest in the physical world, dealing with prosperity?
Well, you could take a miniature of Hennessy or any other top shelf liquor, and it should be top shelf because it's an offering to God, like flowers or candles or anything else. Spirits. They call alcohol spirits because it is a spirit. It changes a person's whole attitude, either for the better or for the worse. But you could get it and put it in a cup and put it up high, someplace like on top of a china closet or on top of a refrigerator. And people who are alcoholics that lived on the earth and they go in spirit world, they would not be impressed by this, but a person who enjoyed a toddy little drink or a cocktail or highball in spirit world, they would come through. They do not drink, but they smell the aroma of this beverage, and they smell the aroma, and they enjoy it, and they will dwell for a short time in this place.
So does that mean like bad spirits can come in and drink too?
No. Anything dedicated to high spiritual principles and divine principles do not dwell in holy places.
Well, that's good to know, so it makes you a little bit more comforting. Is it possible that you could, I guess everybody has different phobias and things of that nature. Like I say you have a grandfather who was really good to you. Is there anything that you could do or you could recommend a person use with their photograph in the event they're unable to visit their grave site? I'm not saying to pray to them. That's not what I'm advocating.
We do not pray. We do not pray to our ancestral relatives. We honor them. We do not pray to them. Prayers should be dedicated to the Creator. We should never put anything in front of the Creator. But you honor them It's a difference between honoring and worship. We do not worship ancestral spirits. We just honor them. And it does not necessarily have to be in the graveyard. It could be at your altar. Their favorite food, their favorite drink, their favorite candies, sweet potatoes. It could be different things that they liked while they were on the earth plane. And it can be set in front of a photograph and left there. It's not going to be consumed, but it can be left there to honor them for a little while.
Now, you mentioned candies and different spiritual edibles. Any event in this tangible world, things tend to rot. How would one dispose of?
You would not leave it there long enough to rot. You would just place it there for a little while, but you would not leave it there to be contaminated. And then how do you dispose of it? You take it out of your house and you dispose of it the way that you do anything that's undesirable in your house.
Do you throw it in trash cans?
You can throw it in the trash can. If you live near water, you can throw it overboard.
Does your Angelic Ministries teach about angels, or what does your organization do?
Essentially, we talk about Almighty God Himself. We put nothing in front of Him. And then we teach about His government, the government of God, which many churches don't teach about. And then we talk about the servants of God, the created beings that God Himself created, was the archangels and then the angels. And we talk about the hundreds of angels and what angels do and why God has commanded angels to assist us on the earth plane, keep us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger, prosper us in this world. And this is why Angelic Ministries is a different church, because we teach the purity of God, and we teach also about Him and His government and how God operates. We also teach about the time to reach God. I make a statement and it's misconstrued many times by many people, but when you think about it, the biggest cream puff, which means softy, in the universe is God, because God wants to do it for us. Whether we ask, whether we deserve it or not, God said, "Beloved above all things, I desire you to be in good health and to prosper." God only wants good things for us. God wants us to be happy, and we don't see those type of things. God doesn't punish us as much as we punish ourselves. God said no matter what you do, when He forgives, He forgets. It's not even recorded in the book of life. But as time goes by, we say, "Well, God, you remember the time I did this, that." God said, "No, I don't remember, because I wiped the slate clean. I cleaned you up from the book of life." The angels didn't even record that, because I forgave.
Wow, thank you.
I will keep all of you in my prayers and blessings, and please get in contact us and go to another spiritual level.
Thank you. The name of your ministry is called Angelic Ministries, and you mentioned something about chimes. I've heard a long time ago, and right now it's in the I don't want to say lore or legend stage, to say that the Archangel Raphael, the one that deals with angels, his hair follicles are like chimes or music. Have you ever heard anything of that?
Yes, that's classically in the angelic setting. It means that his hair are like bells that ring and they vibrate, and they send down the vibrations upon the earth. It's a funny thing about bells, and we have many mentions of bells in the Bible, but bells are one of the things used to ward off evil and evil spirits. It's amazing that they have deacons now, but it used to be called saxtons. And prior to people coming to the church, they would be there early in the morning, and what they would do is prepare the building for service. And then come near service time, they would ring the bell. And all evil spirits in that place or dwell in that place or came near it, they would flee. Isn't it amazing that children, they have little bells on their little shoes, and that is to protect them against spiritual entities? Even cows, the lead cow has a bell around its neck. And isn't it funny that even fire engines use bells to chase off evil spirits, demonic burning spirits as they come near a fire? Bells have been used out throughout the history of mankind. Ring the bell. Even in the Western, they would ring the bell to let everybody know dinner is ready. And many parts of the South, they always had the dinner bell. No matter where you were, they would ring the little bell to let you know that dinner not only was ready, but they chased evil spirits away. And the high priest always wore bells around the hem of their robe, because bells are a ghost chaser. If you want to clear your house many times, just ring your bell.
Just ring a bell.
Ring your bell.
It's very interesting with regards to ringing the bell. Up until this point, I was just under the impression that bells were just to bring someone's attention. You mentioned about the dinner bell, and you watch the old westerns and they had the little triangle bell hanging up, and never dawned on me that the bells actually, even like doorbells, for example, just think that you're just alarming the door to let you know someone is there. Never seen the unseen reason or the esoteric science behind it, that they actually ward off negativity or evil spirits.
Yes, that's one of the things that bells actually do. They chase. It seems that evil forces don't like the sound of bells. Something that puts them to flight, puts them fleeing. The sound and the vibration and the energy that's cast off with the bells.
Wow, that's amazing. That once again we're dealing with frequencies and things of that nature. Now, I know you mentioned, you used the word sphere. That's in our modern English terminology is not a word that's often heard by the majority of people. Spheres, like the angel bill spheres, like the sphere of Mercury and the sphere of Mars. Can you give a little bit? One time I heard the idea that the angels that dealt with the angels of the crossing, that dealt with the flaming swords that warded off evil and negativity. Could you explain what the spheres are and how they apply in Angelic Ministries?
Well, one of the great things is the spheres are forces. And forces they combat evil spirits. Something like a vibration is something like it's a force that actually fights against the prince of darkness and all evil spells and conjuration and fixes and curses. It puts it down.
So why would a candle, just get a candle from a dollar store, hear people, well, I know my coworker, she burns candles. Are they really effective?
If they were not effective, why does the church use them?
Just for decorations, I would assume.
No, they use them in their ritualistic work, because candles have a spirit, they have a force with them. Every time the wick flickers, it's a prayer going into the universe. And this is why they use them, because they are effective with the flicker of the light. Let's say the light does not flicker, but the light gleams and it glows and it becomes activated. It becomes energy that you send in the universe.
It's interesting. It's kind of like we're in this whole technology age, and we have electronics, and at one time recordings used to be on wax, with the 45 or the 33, putting on the they call it the, I don't say tape deck, but the record player. I know we're a long ways from that. Many the young people may not even know that there were recordings or information carved into wax. And that was a particular science that a needle or a diamond needle could pick up the vibration and be amplified through the speaker so we can hear it. So essentially, spiritually, wax and flames is another way of using vibration to communicate with the spirit world.
These things were used long before there was a rocket ship. They were used long before men knew about dark holes in outer space. They were used because they were effective. And men today and women today use them because they realize they are effective. It is the absence of knowledge of their effectiveness that people do not progress.
Well, if this area is seldomly ventured by the faint of heart, for one reason it's been taboo to even explore these type of conversations, let alone to actually get a candle and to light it. Is there anything that you could, since you being a pastor and founder of Angelic Ministries, that you could lend credence or help individuals that want to go to a higher stage in life to make them feel that it's all right to use these sciences that the Creator has allowed us to use?
These are sciences that the Creator himself has propounded and put forth. There are always hesitations that people have when they venture into new undertakings. They have a fear that they could get caught up in something. They don't feel comfortable because they're abandoning the old traditions that they feel safe in. Nevertheless, you have to venture, you have to grow. Even grass grows, trees grow, vines and leaves grow. But if you stay stuck in the same antiquated positions and you don't want to learn anything new, you don't want to venture to higher planes, you don't want to go deeper into spirituality because you're afraid. And that fear is instilled in you by the people who want to keep you right where you are, because if you stay grounded where you are, then they can control you.
My name is Shema'yah Bey. I'm here with Reverend Dr. Clifford Hazel of Angelic Ministries. Dr. Hazel, I want to welcome you once again to the listening audience, the men and women throughout the world that are curious about the spirit of prosperity and using incense and psalms to invoke or invite the spirit of prosperity into their home. Before we get started with this particular subject matter, does money have a spirit? And if so, can it be fed?
Yes, money does have a spirit, and as we have formerly said, we talked about Ecclesiastes 10:19. We talked about the spirit of money and how money answers all things. In a circular world that we live in, we know it takes money in order for us to survive on this earth plane. And money within itself is a spirit. It has a power not only to bless, but a power to curse. We've had thousands of people who have hit the $1 million lottery, $200 million lottery, and rather than bringing happiness, it seems that it's brought despair and dismay and all types of problems in people's lives. Families have broken up. They've had all the money, but it seemed like the money didn't do them any good. And it's not money that's evil, it's the spirit or the intention that people have in using it. You can use money to bless and uplift a nation, or a people, or a country, or you could use the finance to destroy. A great deal of times you find that money has a power within itself to destroy. You find colleges and universities and churches and families that have been destroyed for the lack of money, or they have had too much money and they have overdone things. Even in the Congress of the United States, they have appropriated millions and hundreds of millions of dollars for bridges that go nowhere, for roads that have dead ends. They've had that situation in Alaska not too long ago. So money has a spirit. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil. It depends upon the bearer thereof.
It's interesting. I know in the Christian Bible it says that the herbs are for the healing of the nation. And I understand that there are a certain combination of crushed crab shells and herbs that could feed the spirit of money. Could you give us a little information or detail with it? I know there's a company called introduced this particular product, this ancient formula. I'm not the right person to speak on it, but at least introduce the audience to it through you from what little that I know about this, the essence of these particular herbs.
Can be used for the uplifting of humanity and also for the healing of the nation. They have a tremendous amount of spiritual products that are used that go back to ancient times. Many of the rituals that they have and the products they have go back to ancient cultures that have been used. Crab shells are one. The rituals that they use crab shells for all types of things, love and finance and the healing of homes and certain situations. So I would encourage you to write to them and get a copy of some of the products that they have, depending on what your need would be.
It's very interesting. And with that being said, are there incense that could be burned in an individual's home? I understand that there's something called a prophet's incense, and I believe a certain combination of psalms. Why would it be necessary for psalms to be combined with the spirit of the incense?
Well, one of the great things about psalms is it tells conditions. Psalms can not only increase happiness, but psalms can break jinx. Psalms can put down a great deal of evil forces that have been sent against a person. There are psalms for practically everything that a person stands in need of. However, you've got to know that psalms come in combinations. For instance, it could be 5 psalms read in succession that would break a condition. Every one of us have a favorite psalm. Some people like the 23rd Psalm. One of my favorites is the 91st Psalm. And you have your own personal psalm. Psalms that your parents taught you. Psalms that fit a particular situation in your life. Psalms that gave you comfort. Psalms of deliverance. But psalms come in combination. And when I say that, it could be more than one psalm for the condition that you suffer.
Money house blessing. I know that you go to certain dollar stores and things of that nature. They have the little aerosol with the Indian chief on it. Now, from my understanding, I know that there's a particular device or spiritual technology that's used dealing with coconuts and water that can help invite the spirit of prosperity in the home without going or giving the ritual or giving the actual recipe step by step. Would you care to speak on how these, once again, I refer to, since you're coming from a Christian, not really Christian per se, but a spiritual perspective, they're using a Bible which says that the herbs are for the healing of the nation, and that can also include roots and grasses and fruits. So how could a coconut or a spirit of a coconut be used without giving up the patent to it, so to speak, enhance one's spiritual or prosperity vibration if they're in their home?
Well, many times in many cultures throughout the world, they take a coconut and they put it inside of a plate, and they use saltpeter or they use camphor, and they will take saltpeter and add it in the water and put it near the front door in order to receive blessings, they will take coins and they will put coins in the plate. And among various cultures in the world, they know that that's attracting prosperity. How do they know? Because the family, all of a sudden, it seems that they become prosperous. And it becomes traditional, and it becomes a part of your culture, and it becomes a part of your belief. And these are the things that people do. Camphor, sulfur, coconut, coins, and it brings prosperity. The same way that the chimes, you should have chimes outside of your door. Cultures in the world believe that when the wind blows and the chimes beat against one another, they believe that this is a sign where prayers are sent to Almighty God. There are different things throughout the world, and there are different things that people use to bring about prosperity. I believe that God sees you making an effort to keep your mind on Him and keep your mind on holy and spiritual things will bring blessings to you. Because the more you dwell with Him, the more blessed you become.
My name is Shema'yah Bey. I'm here with Dr. Clifford E. Hazel of Angelic Ministries. Today we're going to be talking about the world of spirits. Dr. Hazel, I want to thank you for making this opportunity to instruct me and the many millions of people throughout the world to hear you speak on your knowledge and your understanding about the world of spirit and what is it. Is it something that's intangible that people just hear about, or just watching paranormal TV, or is it an illusion? Many of us, like the Missouri people from the Show Me State, is there something to the unseen world? And if so, are there things or tools that we can use to fight this as a soldier of the Lord or the Creator, so to speak, to change things around? From your experience and from your vantage point, is there anything that you can lend to us in that area?
Well, I want to thank you, my brothers and sisters that are listening to this tape, and the world at general, and all spirits are real. I don't know about some of your training and some of you that have religious beliefs which are very good, but if you don't have the correct religious beliefs, then it's a disadvantage to you. But the spirit world is real. There are two physical concepts. One is that you're a physical being, and once the breath leaves your body, that's the end of it. But in the world of spirits, once the energy leaves your body, it goes into another sphere. It takes on another dimension. It goes into another realm, and it exists within that realm. And people who have lived on this earth that loved us and have been with us, when they leave and they go into another form or into another realm, they don't forget us that are left behind. And there is a way, which is called invoking. There is a way of communicating with this spiritual power, this spiritual force, this spiritual entity. So yes, spirits are real, and you can invoke spirits. You can call spirits from the world of spirits. There are tools, there are substances you can work with in order to make this happen, to make it take place. You can call them back to assist you on the earth plane. And these are some of the things, whether you believe or you don't believe, they are real. They exist. Many times we base things on what we believe, but you've got to elevate yourself beyond believing to knowing. And that's the difference between me and maybe some of the people that you know in the world. I don't believe in the sense that you might believe. I know. And that's what makes the difference. Once was a time that you believed in Santa Claus. But then when you became grown or you grew up, you knew that that was an illusion, that was a fairy tale. Now you know. So the world of spirits can be argued from many points by theologians and philosophers and psychics and what have you, but I know it exists. I know it's real because I communicate with it every day. So my brother and my sisters, you have to go a step further. You have to elevate yourself. You have to drop off negativism and superstitions. And you have to seek this world that can assist you. And it can eliminate poverty. It can eliminate sickness. It can eliminate distress. And it can eliminate wars and so many things. But you have to adjust and prepare yourself to go into the world of spirits.
Thank you very much for that. Some people define spirit as being air, or in the Hebrew it's called ruach or ruh in Arabic. With this air or this spirit, this unseen force, many of us are going to make the now all of us 100% guarantee that we're going to make a transition from this physical form to the unseen world once again. And many of our loved ones have gone before us that are in the world of spirit, that may still be in the sphere of within this 7-year span of time. Is it possible to communicate with them? And a lot of times I think about the movies where you remember in Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg sitting at the table, people come to see her, or Houdini trying to reach his mother from seances. And so many of our experiences are dictated by what is on the television or the movie screen. From your experience, is a seance the only way to communicate with your ancestral relative?
No, there are many ways of contacting your ancestral relatives. The general concept of spirit is the gift of life that was given to you by the Creator. Now, the name of the Creator might be important to you, but what was the name of the Creator 800 billion years ago? What did you call him then? And the 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago, they began to name the Creator. Many people say he gave them the name of what he wanted to be called. He's called many names in different cultures and different religions, but he is the grand architect of the universe. He is the master creator and the supreme being of the universe. Names to me are not important, mainly because each culture, each faith, each religion has its name for him. But to me, he is the supreme being. He's the supreme Lord, the supreme creator of the universe. And when I approach him with all reverence and all respect, all diligence, with submission and humble obedience to him and his will. This is my approach to him. But needless to say, he will respond to you when he sees that you are pure in heart. And the world of spirits exists from the breath given to you by that Creator, the Supreme Creator. So spirit world exists with the creative breath of life given to man. This is why it never can be lost. The breath returns to the Creator who originated it from the beginning, who gave it as a gift to mankind. And that's why it can never be destroyed. There are all types of ways of communicating with ancestral relatives. The Indian nation was a great nation in North America because they always gave honor to the deceased relatives. They always gave honor to the spirit world. But once they were taught, don't do that, that's wrong, that's superstition, don't get involved in that, then the 17 original Indian nations, they had all types of problems, sickness and disease. They were destroyed by their enemy that stole their land and gave them a religion that was not their native religion. And you cannot operate in a sphere, you cannot operate in a force if it's not your ancestral spirit, ancestral force. You cannot thrive. And this is what the Creator wanted us. He wanted us to be in good health and to strive and to be comfortable in our own native religion, our own native culture. You cannot cross cultures. When you cross cultures, you have problems, mainly because you're going into a sphere that's not your sphere. Many people think Shaka Zulu, when he took on another religion, it led to the downfall, not only of him, but the Zulus. And it led to the downfall of the Zulu religion and the Zulu the religion and also their culture. It is generally believed that that took place. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you think. In China, people use rice on graves. In Jamaica, I've seen tons of rice being put on graves, and from tractor trailers, they sprinkle the rice over the grave and come back 3, sometimes 7 days later and bag the rice that the birds haven't eaten, and they take it to their homes and they keep it for a year because it's their source of getting involved with their ancestral spirits. I've seen all types of things. I've seen sesame seeds. I've seen pumpkin seeds. I've seen different types of seeds placed on the ancestral relative's grave. And this is to give honor. The concept of Tutankhamun, when they put treasures in the tomb, they were gifts to the spirit world for his passage into the next life. I've seen people use liquor, which is called a spirit, on graves to invoke the deceased person to appear 7 years after a person dies, and the spirit does not visit the house it used to live in. So you've got 7 years to get in touch with your relatives and in the world of spirits. And you can use toys for children to communicate with them. You use fruit on a grave. You can use flowers on a grave. You can use incense on a grave. You can use salt on a grave. But these are only tools to get in touch and let your ancestral relatives know that you respect them and you honor them and you remember them. Tombstone is put there for remembrance. It is actually said, many times it was said by the Vikings, as long as you remembered your ancestral relative's name, it was said that they would always be with you. As long as they are not forgotten, they will always work for you. So you have to know the ritual of having them work for you in the physical plane, and they will be glad to do so. The story of Jesus, if you believe that concept, the story of Jesus is when he left this world, he came back. He came back because he was concerned of the affairs of people on this earth. It is written in the book of Matthew, towards the end of Matthew, that when Jesus came back, the dead in Christ rose and came back with him. And it's recorded in Matthew that the people recognized the dead walking around Jerusalem. Now the question is, that the Bible never answered. The question is, What happened to them? Did they die again? Did they return to the grave? Did they live with their ancestral relatives that were alive on earth? This is a mystery. All these things are mysteries because the world is spirit itself. To the unlearned, untrained, to the neophyte, the world of spirit is a mystery.
I thank you for that, and it definitely sets a platform for those who choose the journey this way to continue. And with that being said, there's something called happy visiting, and other cultures experience or perform or practice this particular ritual. Would you be kind enough to share from your experience and things that you've seen throughout your journey of what happy visiting is? And is it only regulated to a particular culture, like say of the Jewish faith?
Well, not only to their faith, but to many faiths. I just want to tell you a brief story. I was at my home, and my wife rushed in, and she said, honey, is the world coming to an end? She said, I passed Woodlawn Cemetery, and the Jews in Woodlawn Cemetery, and they've got tents and all over Woodlawn Cemetery, and some of them appear to have food, and they're like they're having a festival. And I said, well, there's a thing called happy visiting, and some people call it friendly visiting. But they go to the graveyard and they invoke the spirit of their ancestral relatives to bring them health and prosperity. And I said, they do that every year. And she said, oh, I thought it was something other than that. But they're not the only culture that respects their ancestral relatives. In my experience, I found out that only the Afro-American does not follow a path of respecting their ancestral relatives. I will ask you right now, talking to the general public, when is the last time that you visited the cemetery of one of your relatives? It seems like once you plant them or you let them lay them down to rest, you might think of them, but you make no effort to get in communication with them. And that's why you don't prosper on this earth plane, because your connection in the spirit world, remember, you are spiritual and physical, not physical and spiritual. And because of that, you have to maintain a link, a communication with the spirit world in order to be whole. Because taking the breath of life away from you, you're not whole and you're not living in the land of the living. It's a combination of two entities, the physical and the spiritual being combined. So when you don't visit your ancestral relative, you lose that physical connection or spiritual connection with the physical. And that the combination is the thing that helps you to magnify yourself on the earth plane. I often visit the grave of my ancestral relatives. The Indians did it. They did it. It's another culture, but they did, and they remain strong and powerful and germ-free. But when they adopted another religion, they had smallpox and syphilis and gonorrhea and all other types of sicknesses. The buffalo disappeared, and they lost their food supply. Then the enemy came and destroyed the 17 Indian nations and the 17 Indian tribes. So when you lose connection with the spirit world, you just lose connection. And you go into a sense of poverty. There is no reason in the known world that the greatest grower of food in the world is the United States of America. And yet you have hungry people in America. When the federal government buries food and the federal government takes it on flat barges and dump it overboard, in the ocean to keep the prices up. When the United States of America pay farmers not to grow food, then there's no excuse. But if they were contact the world of spirits, there would be no poverty in the United States of America, no matter who was in power, Democrat, Republican, Independent, the Tea Party. No one can stand in the way of the spirit world. No government, no nation, no people, no tribe can stand in the way of spirit forces.
With you saying that, you said a whole lot, and several things I like to key on. It appears to me that I'm not the spokesman for Afro-Americans, so I'm not attempting to say that, but I will say this. We've been programmed for centuries that it's taboo to even enter the graveyard after the spirit has been planted back into the dirt, number one. And for those that aren't fearful and that choose to progress further, there's no education on even how to approach our ancestral relatives, our aunt or our grandmother. And the third, on top of that, you mentioned something that reminds me of what they have in the physical plane called Willie Lynch. But it sounds like you have something called the spiritual Willie Lynch going on, where the spirit is actually being separated from the physical. And with that being said, the spirit or the enemy of humanity, and you mentioned about Afro-Americans and other impoverished people, it seems that we're fighting the sons of darkness, and we have not we're not trained soldiers in the army of the Lord, so to speak. And it's definitely a spiritual war when you say that there are people in America throughout the world that are hungry, and there are knowledgeable people that are aware that this food is being dumped overboard or buried underground or burned, so to speak, or even paid off not to grow food or is genetically manipulated. And as a result of that, the sons of light, or sons of liberty, are being held back or choosing not to enter the spiritual war, so to speak. I know I said a lot with regards to that, but to key in on something, number one, if you could get the audience, the men and women here, to understand that to get over the taboo, for those who choose to look beyond the veil or pierce this, walk through the matrix, so to speak, what could be the number one foundation prior to you even introducing them something as you mentioned earlier, sesame seeds or pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, even before getting there, to getting a healthier understanding about removing the taboo of even going to the grave site to visit our ancestors. Can you speak on that?
Well, one of the great things, my brother, and to the audience, one of the great things is that Jesus worked in the graveyard. For those people who are Christian, especially the Christians, Jesus cured a madman in the graveyard. A man that ran out of the graveyard into the road and fell down and asked Jesus, "Take these demons out of me." So I don't understand why Christians have a fear of the graveyard, especially when they believe in heaven and they believe in eternal life and they believe in a resurrection. And remember, a graveyard is consecrated ground. It is consecrated. And because it's consecrated, that's why they should have no fear of going in the graveyard. I don't understand how Christians allow their relatives to be buried in the church.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the preacher turns around and commit the body of the deceased in his church up front. Now, suppose the person was a devil, then the preacher is planting a devil in the front of the church. They commit the body, the final remains, not to consecrated ground, but they commit it to the front of the church. The preacher doesn't even go to the graveyard to commit the body to the ground in consecrated areas. Remember, the graveyard is walked off. It is surrounded by bishops or monsignors or cardinals or people who are holy, and that ground is consecrated for the resting place and final remains of those who have departed this earth plane. But yet you have preachers that bury people, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust in the front of the church. And this is why churches have so many problems, because they have committed restless spirits to be present in that particular building. And they're seeking for all kinds of answers to why the church does not grow, why members leave, why they have so many problems, why they have so many scandals. But it's because they've taken entities that are not at rest and they have planted them in the front of their church.
Wow, that's extremely powerful. And for those who are unfamiliar with that, I'm pretty sure they'll be rewinding that particular section more than once to get a healthier understanding. For those that choose to venture to go see their grandmother, their grandfather, their aunt or uncle, or even a good friend that would have done anything for them in this physical form, now that they're in the world of spirit and they want to go and pay their respects, so to speak, or say that they're being set out Monday morning, the rent is due and they're in foreclosure, and they have no sight in the physical world, they can't see anything as far as how am I going to get this money, I just got laid off. What can they do to ask for some divine intervention from their ancestral spirits? What would be the first approach from your perspective on what an individual that was sincere in heart could do to see a break in this physical plane?
The first thing that you do is you request the intervention of God Himself. We put nothing in front of God. God is number one. God is all of it. He's everything. But it also helps to light a white emergency candle.
Now, what is that?
It is just a white candle. It's dedicated to emergency situations, like a landlord sitting you out, or a person sick in the hospital when they don't believe the particular person is going to make it. They could take the person's name and put it underneath the candle and write a short request that that person be healed. And they light the candle and they pray over the candle, because a candle is a spirit. A candle itself is a spirit. That's why they have them in cathedrals and synagogues, and they have it in shul. They have it in mosques, because it's a spirit. And every time the light flicks, the light burns, every time the energy, the heat from the candle goes into the ethos, goes into the atmosphere, that prayer is sent to the Creator. And this is why they have them in holy places, because it's an entity, it's alive. This is why they light these things, because they're alive. And because they're alive, they are offering in the spirit world for a request that is immediately taken care of, because God honors action. We don't receive different things because we don't have any action. But a candle is an action behind a request. Incense is an action. We light it behind a request. God smells the sweet savors coming from the incense. The same way we offer flowers, because God and archangels and angels, they smell the sweet smell coming from the flowers. That's why we have them in our holy places, because they are alive and they are gift and they are offering in the spirit world.
Wow, that's amazing. Should a person use, I know it's going to sound corny, or I don't mean to be disrespectful, but is there the tool to actually light the candle or the incense? Can you use matches, or should I use a lighter or stick? And I mean, people aren't using rubbing sticks together, but I didn't mean that one. But as far as, is there a difference between using a lighter and matches, and if so, could you speak to that?
Well, matches have sulfur, and sulfur deadens a ritual. Anytime you're doing a ritual, I would suggest that you don't use matches because sulfur puts your ritual down. But you can light it with a cigarette lighter. You can light it with paper. You can light the paper and then light your candle. You light your incense with paper. But I would never use a match unless I broke the tip of it off, possibly lit it on a stove, and then lit my candle. But I would definitely not use sulfur because it deadens and it puts your ritual down before you even start.
Okay, thank you very much. Now you're using the word ritual. What does that, because your alarm bells come off, that means something dark. Does that mean dark ritual?
No, it doesn't mean a dark ritual. It means that you are doing a sacrifice. Normally in our teaching, especially biblical, there were offerings made to God. There were lambs. Sometimes they offered bulls, and in later life they even offered goats. And it was an offering. It was a sacrifice that men gave to God. God didn't need a goat. He created goats. He didn't need a cow. He created cows. But it was a religious offering that people made to God, to show God, I'm giving you something to show that I am appreciative for you answering my request. And they did this 5, 10, 15,000 years ago. They did it down in Egypt. They offered down in Egypt, they offered sacrifices to God. Or they offered cattle, they offered incense to God.
So, from your perspective, I know certain religious organizations, they use what they call the knife ceremony in Santeria or Obia, Yoruba, etc. Just to point out a few, they use the knife ceremony on certain animals. Do you advocate, what if people have an affinity to animals or like animals, or you have like PETA, or we even have, we're in this, the time frame of this particular audio is in an age where the shedding of animals' blood is not particularly condoned. Is that what you're asking the audience to get involved with, the shedding of blood?
No, I'm not advocating that. I respect all the religions and I respect their culture and I respect what they believe. But I believe something higher than that. I don't believe in those particular types of forms of worship, but then I don't condemn them. I don't condemn them because everybody's on the same level. At the time, I'm just on a higher level than they are. I deal directly with God, Almighty God, and spiritual forces, the world of spirits. I deal with angels and I deal with archangels that were created by God to do God's work, to do what God needed to be done. God orders angels to go and do what He wants, and He directs them to be done. But people who have animal sacrifices, that's what they believe. And I think in this 21st century, I believe that we should have elevated above that. But there are some people who follow traditional religion, and that's what they do.
That's interesting. Now, you mentioned angels and archangels. These spiritual, once again, different reference points depending on the person's education or spiritual development, from the little cherubs that you see on Valentine's Day to movies that Hollywood puts out. Can you explain what an angel is, and are these spiritual forces really real, or are they just something, a figment of mankind's imagination, or something that historians have just written about? And if so, from your angle or your perspective dealing with angels, could you give us a brief understanding or some more clarity from your perspective on what is an angel and what can it do for us?
An angel is a creative entity, a creative spirit. Creative. You cannot die and become no angel.
Oh, some people say that Enoch, he passed his form, or was trans, like in the Kabbalah or the Zohar, if I'm not mistaken, says that Enoch, one of the prophets in the Bible, he became Metatron, the supernatural angel. What do you think about that?
That's a concept of that religion, and I don't condemn that. I don't condemn it at all. But from my perspective, I'm saying that angels were created. They never lived in a physical form. They never moved their bowels. They never urinated. They never turned around and got indigestion. They never ate food. Angels were created by Almighty God to do what He wanted to be done. An interesting point is that Raphael was the healing angel. You've got a problem. God doesn't leave creation because you need an operation. God sends His healing angel to take care of your physical needs. And He comes from the eastern gate with a beautiful yellow robe. And you have problems in life with danger. You have problems in life with court cases. You have problems in life where you are threatened in many forms, and He sends His archangel Michael. He sends Michael the archangel to fight your battles for you, cut your way through, defeat your foes. And he comes from the south wearing a beautiful red robe. And then you have problems that you cannot solve in your marriage and in your home with your children. And he sends Gabriel, called Jichabora. He sends him from the western gate wearing a beautiful blue robe. And then we cannot exist on the face of the earth without finance. We can't exist because Ecclesiastes 10:19 says money answers all things.
Yes, it does.
It answers all things, and you need to sustain yourself on the earth with finance. And he sends Uriel, the angel of prosperity, wearing a beautiful green robe. So God has angels, and in the scriptures recorded that He has protective angels, and the cherubims and the seraphims that protect even His throne, where they sing day and night, holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. Heaven and earth proclaims your glory. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So God uses angels to do His bidding, to do what He wants, because God doesn't try to do it all, although He is all. He has servants, and these servants do what God instructs them to do.
Now, thank you very much for that. And how could one actually, like, could a lay person or a regular person get involved with an angel? Could they invoke an angel? And if so, do they need to send them back? And what would be the process? How does that even one that has the insight or the spiritual wherewithal to venture in that direction as far as getting angelic protection? Many of us have heard that there's a guardian angel, but we're unaware of that being real. And for those that have had a real experience, then they can see it from another perspective. In certain forms of religion, especially in Islam, we're told that there's an angel on our left and an angel on our right. From your dealing as a monk and then being in the monastery and being instructed in angels and the ability to invoke, or you've had experience in invoking and dispatching angels, how could a person, what would you recommend a person do to communicate with their angel?
Well, one of the things, my brother, one of the great things that happens is man. What is man that God should be mindful of him? One of the great things about man is man contains in his body, the house that he lives in, he contains a particicle, a part of God. When God sent the breath of life into man, he sent an angel to protect that breath, that part of himself. He sent an angel. And this is why we have guardian angels. Many people don't realize that angels change positions. They change spots every 7 years. They're not aware of that. The church is afraid to teach this.
In your opinion, why?
There's so much knowledge that the church really doesn't want men to have. The church wants men to be dependent on the pastor.
Okay.
Pastor. Everything is about pastor. And you can't get these guys even to go to court with you. You'll be a member of a church 30 years. And I've known many, many cases where if you die without insurance, they won't even give money to bury you. I know cases they won't even bury you in the church cemetery unless you pay. I know cases where the pastor lets you know, I ain't got that. I can't do that. Now, when you are a member of a church and your family is a member of the church, and you have a court case, and I've met many, many judges that talk to me, and they tell me, they said, if a man comes to court and his family doesn't show up with him, a husband and his wife don't come, a husband and a father and his children don't come, he says, I judge the case and I judge his credibility by that. And his pastor doesn't come. And I have many men in the ministry with me who tells you, I'll say a strong prayer for you. But physically, after taking your money for years and your family money, he's too busy to even go to court with you. Many of them won't even write a letter. I have people in the ministry that I know that they're not going to get involved.
Okay.
Well, they're going to take your tithes, they're going to take your money, they're going to do that. But getting back to what I had in my mind, the soul is a part of God that he gives to the physical body to make it come alive and to function. And God guides that soul. He guards it with the placing of an angel. So now, when we say about an angel, I'm going to ask you a question. It's recorded in the Holy Book that Jacob wrestled with an angel. He wrestled with an angel. He wrestled with a supernatural force. And being a man, he defeated the supernatural force. And the angel asked him, let me go before daybreak. Because he knew that every 3 hours, angels descend and they ascend on the earth plane. How could a man, a physical man, defeat an angel? And people don't realize that angels visit this world every 3 hours, no matter where you are. In the southern or the western hemisphere, it doesn't make any difference. But they visit this planet every 3 hours. So if you want to catch an angel, you have to pray on the 3rd hour.
Is it like 3, 6, 9, or 12?
3, 6, 9, and 12. AM and PM. They visit this earth. And when they visit this earth, that is the time to make your prayer. And then many people don't realize that in churches you got a pastor, you got Alpha and Omega. But he never explains to you. He never explains to you that he's talking about the moon.
What do you mean, like new moon and full moon?
Talking about the new moon and the full moon. So when God is sitting on the throne of justice, there's no need of you going to him for mercy. But if you get him when he's on the throne of mercy, it is recorded that God would deny you nothing.
Wow, that's amazing. So essentially, it's almost astrologically based. You didn't say anything about astrology, but if you're saying that there's a time period that the Creator is on the mercy seat, and there's a time period he's on the justice seat, that puts a different perspective on when to make your petition or your plea to the Creator and what to ask for.
God is astrological. God is astrological. God is astrology. And you go in the book of Job and it tells you when God names all the planets and the creation. God created these things and you're saying they're bad?
Well, I'm not saying them, but that's the 99% of the religious perspective that dealing with the science of the stars is really evil and venturing into something satanic or the realm of darkness. I don't personally believe that, but many people have been programmed for that. And as a result of that, I think that has a great deal of not knowing the behavior patterns of humans or the behavior pattern of oneself during a particular season or a particular hour of the day for having lack of knowledge. Prior to me saying that, you just educated me and the listening audience with regards to the new moon and the full moon, the mercy and the judgment seat, and when to go to approach the Creator or the Most High, whatever name we subscribe this supernatural form and deity. I do have a question to ask you that does concern me. You mentioned about angels come every third hour, and they ascend and descend on the earth plane, and each individual has an angel, and every 7 years there's a new angel coming on duty. What happens to you, or physically, when at night something presses down upon you and you feel like you're paralyzed? In certain cultures they call it, or use the word sphere or realm, they call it the witch's riding, and you may wake up and there's some type of I'm conscious of younger people that may be listening to this audio recording, but there are bodily fluids that might not necessarily be yours on the bed, and you're the only one in the home at night. Where's your angel at that moment in time, and what can one do if they're encountering these type of dark forces attacking them?
Well, that's very interesting because normally in the book of Genesis, it talks about demonic spirits. It talks about spirits that actually have sexual intercourses with human beings. But the church shuns that, and the reason the church shuns that is that the church doesn't want to deal with supernatural forces having intercourse, sexual intercourses with human beings. I've handled many cases where that has happened with women. At night they feel this heavy body pressing down upon them, and a great deal of times they feel growling, they smell ignacious forms of smells coming to their nostrils at that particular time. And then there's sexual evidence. There's a spermatosa that is not theirs, and they think they're going mad, and they think nobody's going to believe them and things of this nature. But Genesis talks about giants in the land that had sexual intercourse with women. The church avoids this. It is in the gospel, and it's in the book, the holy book, written by men and that were supposed to be, and I use that word, supposed to be, they were supposed to be reverently guided to do this. But the church does not reveal this part of an important thing that takes place. Spiritual entities having sexual intercourse with human beings. And you're unable to get up because The demonic spirit is doing that. Yes, you do have an angel, and the angel is present. That's why you don't die. That's why they don't take your spirit from you, your soul from you. That's why they don't turn around and leave you dead in the bed, as you might say. But it takes place, and the church is a coward. The churches, they are cowards. The pastor that stands in the pulpit, he's a coward. He wants to tell you a beautiful story that took place in the New Testament, and he wants to tell you about how to overcome this, that, and the other. But to educate you on demonic forces and demonic spirits, they are cowards, because this is a part that they don't want to bring up.
So, from your Angelic Ministries, is that something that you educate your, I don't want to say followers, but...
yes. We let people know that there are demonic spirits. There are spirits of darkness. We let them know how to combat these spirits. We teach them how to protect themselves without relying on pastor. The preacher's not going to always be around. And in reality, you have to learn how to defend yourself. We don't give them romantic stories and tell them about victories that took place with David. David is dead. David did what he had to do, and we respect him for doing what he did in his time. But this is the 21st century, and he's not with us physically anymore. And when I have a devil or a demon attacking me, I have to know how to defend myself.
Now, in that defense, is it just speaking like, just get away from me, or I rebuke you in the name of Jesus? Is it a combination of salts or herbs or ginger, or...
It's a combination of having religious tools, having things that are prepared before you get in a situation. There are religious tools prepared for you. It could be a medallion. It could be a coin that was prepared to protect you from sources of evil and evil influence. It can be you knowing what it is, recognizing that you are being attacked, and you using the name of what you believe in and asking for his assistance during the time that you are being attacked. It could be you burning something that we teach, and it's very effective, and it's not incense. But this is for members of Angelic Ministry.
It's very interesting. We'll take a break here.